Hey guys, another Browns thoughts here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. Monday, it was made official. Deshaun Watson is out for the season, torn Achilles. You could see it clear as day. This is not surprising to anybody. But listen, the conversations that have been had since he was injured, with the fans, cheering or booing as he was helped off the field. There was a lot. It's the whole situation stinks. And this is a product of a franchise getting grossly desperate and paying the wrong quarterback and, investing in the wrong quarterback. Because this is the end of the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. I'll call it partnership, relationship, whatever you want to call it. 19 games. That's what they got out of him. 19 games. 19 games in 3 seasons. I mean, I don't know what y'all expected, because y'all expected that Deshaun Watson was going to come in and be the guy who, threw for 4,600 yards and had all those touchdowns for a 4-win team, by the way, in the Houston Texans, and then effectively, wanted all this control, all this power. He sat out a season, demanded a trade, and, wasn't active at all, has all these lawsuits come out, he settles all of them, and then everybody's like, oh, you know what, hey, he's gone for a season. We're going to lose him for, 6, and then it became 11 games. Everything's going to be fine. And what I'm really starting to push back on is all these Browns fans who are now like, oh, it's finally happened. We're finally moving off of him. Wait a second. All you guys were trying to tell me that I was being unfair. No. I wanted to try and see it through and maybe something could work. But he had to perform, because all of the baggage that he brought to this team and all of the negativity that he brought to this team, which was on display on Sunday when he tore his Achilles, that is exactly the problem that I had with this organization bringing this guy in. It divided the fan base. It made a bunch of, diehard Browns fans really support a glorified rapist. What are we doing? What are we doing, guys? And then all you people trying to pull back like you didn't want to support this guy because he was your quarterback and because he was a former Pro Bowler with the Houston Texans a couple years ago, that he was going to magically show up. And then when he was ass, you still supported him. And you're like, oh, you know what? Hey, 6 games. We'll see what happens. Then you get another 6 games. And it's clear as day that he wasn't good. They were better without him. And then they changed the whole fucking offensive operation with an offensive head coach who won Coach of the Year twice. You changed the whole thing for him, and it's statistically the worst offense that the NFL has maybe seen ever. Third downs, they were historically bad. This was as bad as the 2016-2017 Browns that won 1 game in 2 years. Any of you people who are trying to do an about face now, go fuck yourselves. Seriously, go fuck yourselves. You're the ones endorsing all of this shit and trying to justify the gross, desperate nature of Jimmy Haslam trying to take control of this football operation, even though he doesn't have a fucking clue what he is doing. So spare me if I'm really indifferent about all of this stuff that was going on Sunday. Because all of the stuff that built up into this, him settling all these lawsuits, everything, forgive me if, I was feeling a little bit indifferent. Because on one end, I'm a human being. And, hey, you hate to see somebody, get that badly hurt on a football field. You hate to see anybody get hurt. But thinking of so that's the human aspect. But then you think about who the human is in that situation and how much of a deplorable human being Deshaun Watson is, how badly he's played, how much money he has taken from this organization. You can see why the fans were booing there. I don't think it was right, but I also don't think it was right for the Cleveland Browns and their players to go into the post-game press conference, and people like Myles Garrett, who I have a ton of respect for, and people like Jameis Winston, who has become a great leader, trying to, give me all this righteous crap about, hey, he's been a model citizen here. No, he hasn't. He's been defensive at every turn. He has, lied to get the money that he wants. And, he's a snake. Look at his track record. 20 plus lawsuits that all had to be settled. They didn't go to court because he's guilty. So the whole situation, it was a microcosm of just how badly this situation has been handled everywhere. This has been just such an uncomfortable time to be a Cleveland Browns fan, because when you're supposed to be excited about bringing in a new quarterback, you've got all these allegations on him. Me and my dad spent the whole summer of 2022 trying to justify if this was going to work. And it was exhausting for me. And then we knew he didn't have to play. And then Jacoby Brissett plays the first 11 games of the season, did a pretty admirable job. And then the team finished, I think, 7-10 or 8-9. I can't even remember what the record was, but it wasn't good. And then, the first, handful of games of 2023 were kind of a mess. You had DTR come in there. You had him come in not prepared for a game against Baltimore. You had him win the Steelers game. You had PJ Walker come in and win a game against the 49ers. And then you bring Joe Flacco off the street. He gives the Browns the best quarterback play maybe they've had in the 25 years that they've been back in the NFL. And then they're like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to bring him back. And you know what else? We're going to change the whole offense. Because that makes a ton of sense. You want to know why? Because they made an investment in Deshaun Watson. And they wanted it to work. And this was almost like karma working. And that's why I think some of these people were cheering, which, like I said, it doesn't make it right. But it's like, hey, we don't have to be subjected to this nonsense anymore. But the organization's still screwed because they still owe him all this money guaranteed. And they owe him, I think it's like somewhere in a $70 million cap hit the next couple of seasons. But Deshaun Watson's Cleveland Browns career is over. His NFL career is probably over because, the Browns aren't going to be able to trade him. They're going to probably have to keep him on the roster or cut him. And nobody's going to want to sign him because of the baggage, because of the poor quarterback play, because he's been out of the league too long. But gee, I wonder why that why that happened. Hey, he didn't play. And he was embroiled in a bunch of lawsuits. So again, and there's people on the internet. There's this guy who's like a lawyer. His name's Peter Patakos or something like that. I don't even know who. This guy is a lawyer, and he just continues to ball wash Deshaun Watson like he's some sort of victim. It's like, if you're still trying to defend Deshaun Watson like he's some sort of a victim, first of all, he's a deplorable human being. You don't settle lawsuits for sexual misconduct if you aren't guilty. It's just, there's no way for me to not look past that. So that was a red flag. The fact that there were 20 plus of them, and the Browns, with an owner and his wife, who is also an owner in this team, with two grown daughters willing to look past that was a problem. And then, going through all the motions and trying to make this work, and now making your coach of the year, your two-time coach of the year, be the figurehead of, one of the worst offenses. And people were saying that this offense didn't look good with Ken Dorsey. Gee. The Buffalo Bills look a lot better without, Ken Dorsey as their offensive coordinator. So, this whole thing's a goddamn mess. And what you saw on Sunday at Huntington Bank Field was, just the residual and just the long-term collateral damage that has been felt throughout this franchise for the last 3 years since Deshaun Watson was traded for and signed that contract with the Cleveland Browns. And, the shame and all, the thing and all, I'm not going to even say the shame, the thing in all of this, nobody's right. And that's why this whole situation sucks, is no one was right in that situation. The players were not right in defending Deshaun Watson because, they could have defended him a different way, but saying, oh, he's been a model citizen, spare me with that crap. The fans, the ones that were booing or cheering him because he got hurt, that's not right. Because on a human being level, even though he's a deplorable human being and he's not good at playing quarterback, still, the guy got hurt, man. That's bad. And that's not a good look either. And then, to the fans who are now trying to distance themselves from this guy, acting like they didn't want to support and believe in him. And you could tell me all you want about, hey, he's the quarterback of my team and I want to see him support. You guys should have been smart enough to see that this wasn't going to work. A guy out of football for a year plus, almost 2 years. How the hell was that going to work? And then having all of those allegations on him, rooting for him, you're going to justify that? It all felt gross to me. It was hard for me to get around it. I tried to, like, maybe see this thing through, to maybe that there was something that could come out of it. And it's clear as day, 19 games in, and then this was almost like karma, that they just ended it with an injury. Because, some people say it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. It's like, I'm not going to go that far. Because, like I said, you hate to see anybody get significantly injured to that level. But given all of the allegations, I understand why people just, like, don't want to. But don't cheer it. Don't cheer it. Like, you could just be, like, it's just like, it's like I said, I made this comparison, lack of better judgment, with Donald Trump when he got COVID during the pandemic, or when he got shot. How he went and used that in terms of political gain is a little bit gross, but you don't want to see somebody, die in terms of being a big public figure. And yes, Donald Trump is a deplorable human being, but especially when he gets COVID and when he's the president of the United States, that's just not a good look, because that's the leader of the free world. Whether we like him or we don't, that's just how it is. So when it comes to Deshaun Watson, it's like, yeah, I don't like him. I don't like that he hoodwinked my franchise that I've loved for many years. I don't like that he for all the allegations and any of the women who were affected by the allegations, or who were involved in any of those incidents that were alleged. I feel for them. No one should ever be subjected to anything like that. And the fact that Deshaun Watson was willing to just pay him off with all the money and give him hush money, and all these NDAs and stuff, it's gross. It's gross. Like, everything about this situation is gross. And it is emblematic of what this organization has become. It's like, hey, almost a calendar year ago, this team was on the verge of was getting ready to make a run to go to the playoffs. They're 1-6 now. They're facing the Ravens next week. The Ravens, who are scoring boatloads of points and have a borderline unstoppable offense with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Good luck. Good fucking luck. So, those are my Browns thoughts here. Thanks for watching. I appreciate y'all. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye-bye.